All right, students, I'm going to have to make do today. I forgot my tripod holder thing that holds the iPad, so I have to kind of wing it. I'm going to try to have to give you some notes so don't get motion sickness here. But hello to everyone. This is Mr. O'Brien again. This is geography, and this is a virtual lesson. And you're going to be taking some notes today. So hopefully you were able to print off what I sent you. If not, you can just get some lined paper, and everything that I'm doing and everything that you see, you can just write down, and that's totally fine too. Anyway, so we're going to start out by taking some notes. Now, I apologize. I'm down in my basement, and I'm actually trying to hold on to my computer or my iPad while I do this. It's probably not going to work out the greatest, but anyway, so here we go. All right, grid. Imaginary lines that run north, south, and east and west that help us to find places on the earth. Draw examples of these lines in your notes. So all I'm going to do is just draw an example of a grid. All right, this is really weird. Okay, so you got the equator, you got the prime meridian, and then you've got various lines. And if you want to just draw some what we call parallels, and then those lines of longitude always meet at the poles. They're not parallel. They intersect at the North and South Pole. It's really weird doing this, kids, because I'm looking through the iPad to do this. So it's going to be a little messed up, but hey, we'll work with it. All right, so latitude, also known as parallels. They're the ones that run this way, the equator. They never intersect. They are east-west lines that measure degrees north and south of the equator. So the equator, let's say the equator's here. It measures how far north and how far south. So even though these lines run from west to east or east to west, however you want to do it or say it, they measure how far north and how far south of the equator. So these latitude lines, called parallels, measure degrees north and south of the equator. They measure up to 90 degrees at the poles. The equator is the most famous of these lines. Draw an example of these lines in your notes. So let's just do it again. This one we're just focusing on. Oh, it's really hard to be. Anyway, so you have the equator, right? Okay, and then you have, these are degrees north, these are degrees south. Well, at the very tip, the South Pole right here, and the very tip, the North Pole up here, each one is, this one is 90 degrees south, and this one is 90 degrees north. And that's as far north and as far south as you can get, the North and South Pole. And it's 90 degrees north and 90 degrees south. Other important lines of latitude are, well, let's say this is the equator, right? So we have the equator. Okay, we would have a dotted line here. That would be in the southern hemisphere called the Tropic of Capricorn. There'd be another one up here called the Tropic of Cancer. Way far south down here, you'd have the Antarctic Circle. And way far north up here at 66.5 degrees north, you'd have the, sorry guys, I'm writing right on those words, Arctic Circle, sorry. Okay, so you have the equator. You have the Antarctic Circle. You have the, forgive my sloppiness, it's really difficult to look through an iPad and do this. Okay, Arctic Circle. Oh, I think I was just supposed to put the tropics here, so I'm just going to put Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Okay. The equator separates the world into the blank hemisphere and blank hemisphere. Well, north of the equator is the northern hemisphere. South of the equator is the southern hemisphere. So it separates the world into the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Lines of latitude can measure up to, I just told you, North and South Pole, 90 degrees. Now, we're on the longitude meridian. North, south imaginary lines that measure degrees east and west of the prime meridian. They can measure up to 180 degrees. 180 degrees is the international date line on the opposite side of the globe. Draw an example of these lines in your notes. Okay, again, it's not going to look beautiful, I can tell you that. All right, so this would be the prime meridian, PM, okay? Now remember, they all intersect at the poles, okay? Man, it's messed up, sorry. Anyway, those are lines of longitude, okay? And they measure up to 180 degrees. So you start at 0 and you march your way up all the way to the other side of the globe, and it's 180, and then it starts counting back down again, okay? All right. Lines of longitude can measure up to 180 degrees. The most famous line of longitude is the, yeah, you guessed it, the prime meridian. And like I said, you guys at home, write these down in line paper. And I sent you this document, so if you have to fill in the rest of it later, that's fine. If you could print it off, ideally that'd be the best. And then scan it in or take pictures of it and send it to me when you have it done so I can give you credit for it. That'd be awesome. The prime meridian separates the world into the, okay, so east of the prime meridian is the eastern hemisphere, and west of the prime meridian is the western hemisphere. So divides the world into the western and eastern hemisphere, okay? All right, so now you have an actual activity. You're going to be doing some work on a map. So those of you at home, unless you're going to draw the maps out, you know, one thing about being an at-home learner, you need to have either the ability to do some drawing, do a little extra work, or you're going to have to print some stuff off and then scan it in or take pictures of it to send it back. In the digital world, we're kind of limited as to what we can do, so you kind of have to work with us at home. And so, all right, so there's going to be two maps. Map A, on the provided map, please label and color the following. Remember, spelling and capitalization count. So you're going to label and color the continents: Africa, Antarctica, Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, South America, and the oceans: the Arctic, Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific. Now that's on map A. So map A looks like this. This is your map A. How do you know it's map A? Maybe because it says map A right there. Right? A little hint for you. Okay, there's map B. Now on map B, you have different activities to do. Map B, you are going to be labeling the lines of latitude, also known as parallels: the equator, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. Oops. Why did I do Tropic of Cancer? Let's cross that one out. I did it twice. Teachers are quite flawed people. The Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. For longitude, you're going to label the prime meridian, and then you're going to label a compass rose with the cardinal and intermediate directions. Now, if you're not sure on directions, look them up, okay? So it's a pretty simple map activity. It's just a simple review, and you're going to be doing that that one's on map B. Now, just to give you a little hint here, the Arctic Circle, dotted. Equator, of course, is a solid line. Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, and another dotted line is the Antarctic Circle. And of course, you also have to label the cardinal and intermediate directions with the compass rose. Pretty simple activity, but do a really neat job. So this will be a nice little study map for you. And just by having it done, you'll get 10 points of credit if you do a really nice job. So that's today's lesson. These documents are attached. I sent you them. They are on Google Classroom. So again, if you have questions, make sure you email me And this is just kind of a review activity for today. So have a really good afternoon or morning, and we'll talk to you later.